Shalom, everybody. I'm Dave, your host from Universal Truth of Mankind. And this is Meditation 201, where we talk about self. Like I always say, this is not the me, myself, and I egotistical self, but rather the composite self, the self that includes the soul, the upper soul, that includes the mind, it includes the body. Now it's a little more complicated than that, but that's our starting point, and then we'll slowly add in. Now, like always, please like and share these videos. I don't charge anyone anything. I'm not selling anything. But so please get the word out on this. I think this is necessary. Also, I'm on Rumble as well as YouTube. Now, another thing to contemplate is we are literally, this world's being transformed right before our eyes. It's hard to not notice, but there are people who don't see the forest for the trees. But as a result of that, we really need to up our awareness on things and prepare ourselves for a change. What I mean by that? Well, if you go down to the description and go to the playlist for Meditation 201, start with the first video if you have not, and don't cheat yourself. Listen to everything I say every minute, every second, each video. Don't skip up to, the latest video, in this case, this one, number 5. Now, oh, what I was going to say, I think I just had a brain fart. Sorry about that. But nonetheless, this world is slowly being transformed. And so we, on a conscious level, have to learn to keep up. And that's what this is all about. So what you're seeing here is a typical, what some call Kabbalah tree. Now, I spoke to this last week, but obviously I'm going to take it a step further, as each video does. So we better understand what's going on. Now, it's the lower 7 that we live in. It's the lower 7 that we have control over. It's the lower 7, not the top 3, but the lower 7 that we have a where we can work to better ourselves. The top 3 just is. So we are only capable of having an understanding, a wisdom, a plan to transform ourselves on the lower 7. The top 3, I was just saying before, that's really God's domain. We have no privilege to that. And we have to think of God as at this point as more as a singularity. You can't say he's 3 in 1. I know sometimes it's considered a triunity, but even that's not correct. The top 3 is our creator's interface with the lower 7, where we are to exist. The upper 3 are there only to help us identify the fact that our creator has thought. Our creator designed what it thought, and that our creator fabricated what it designed and what it thought. So all that's about. It's not about a trinity, a triunity in reality. It has nothing to do with that. You cannot think in terms of physicality when you're trying to understand this. You have to think that it is above our ability to understand. Now, with that said, you would notice one that says Binah, and it has understanding as its translation. Make believe that this is a sphere that has an upper half and a lower half. Make believe that the upper half is the creator, and the lower half is us in the image of. So the creator, the upper half of understanding, created an image of itself during the 7 days, 6 days of creation, the seventh day rest. And that's what you see below. We are not capable of understanding anything on the upper half fully. We have some glimpses, but just enough to help us understand what's below. That's on the lower half of that sephiroth, that sphere that we see called understanding. And it's very important for us to make that distinction. Now, you may say, well, how do you know this, Dave? Are you feeding me a load of crap? No, because when we take a look at the very first verse of Genesis, actually, I do have the verse here. So let me just go up. Okay, first verse. It's the English translation. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. Is this correct? Well, no, not exactly. It's a cheap translation. Now, we're only interested in the top one here. That's verse 1. Now, in Hebrew, it says from right to left, Bereshit bara Elohim. What is this saying? It's saying Keter, Bereshit, the thought of six. Bara, design. Elohim, understanding. So we have Bereshit, the thought of six, the thought of creation. Bara, the designer of creation. And Elohim, the understanding, the fabricator of creation. Now you see right after that third word, you see a two character word called et. So how we are to understand this? Well, the proper way to understand this is Aleph Tav. That is the entire alphabet from Aleph to Tav. You can think of it almost like a ladder from Aleph down to Tav and Tav all the way up to Aleph. Sometimes it's translated as the, which makes no sense. But what this means is, in terms of the alphabet, we can understand everything below Elohim. So it's the Aleph Tav of the heavens and the Aleph Tav of the land. That's what that verse is saying. So Elohim is the dividing point between, that's the third word there, from right to left. It's the third word that in reality we have to have an upper and lower perspective of. So let's go all the way back. So the et, Aleph Tav, is referring really to the lower seven, the heavens and the earth. The six are the heavens, and the last one's the earth, or ground. Really means ground. We're not talking about a planet per se. So that's the way to visualize this tree. Now, I think I beat this to death enough. And I hope this is helpful to you. And please understand that we're going to be focusing on the lower seven very shortly. But at least now we have an understanding of the creator as a singularity, as something that really can't be comprehended nor defined. So trying to call it a trinity, no. Trying to call it triunity, yes, no. It's the aspect of the creator that is not really talked about. It's hinted to, but not spoken about. We see that in Genesis chapter 1, where who does the fabricating? Elohim. And does in such a way that we have a certain understanding, a perspective, a comprehension of, but not what's above that. So we had to divide it in half. Now, there's one other step I want to take in this before I close up. And that is that when you look at Elohim, we have to ask ourselves, well, what soul are we talking about? Well, to simplify this, that soul that Elohim represents, the upper and the lower, is the neshama. There's an upper neshama that we can't grasp, and there's a lower neshama we can. But the upper neshama is who we really are. The lower neshama is who we have to transform back to what we really are. And that's the aspect of the soul, the upper soul, the mind, and the body. I hope this helps, and I hope this really gets your appetite, going here to understand what is self. And with that self, like I said, you're not alone. The Zohar becomes an experiential thing. But there's another thing to get out of this. And that is that you learn not only to love the Creator, but you learn to love yourself. And once you can love yourself, then you can love others. These attributes we have in common with the Creator are out of whack. And we have to learn to love ourselves. Then we learn to love the Creator. We learn to love ourselves. Then we can love others. The top three, love the Creator. The middle six, love yourself. 7, love your neighbor. You see how this all goes together? And that's why I say self is not egotistical, but rather is inclusive of our our levels of existence and others. Take care, everybody, and I hope this helps, and I hope this gives you a lot to contemplate. Shalom, shalom.